It began with a royal summons and ended in one of the most gruesome mass deaths of the Middle Ages. On the morning of July 26, 1184, some of the most powerful nobles in the Holy Roman Empire gathered in the German city of Erfurt. The occasion was a Hoftag, an imperial assembly, called by King Henry VI to mediate a land dispute between Landgrave Louis III of Thuringia and Archbishop Conrad of Mainz. Dozens of counts, bishops, and barons crowded into an upper chamber of St. Peter's Monastery near Erfurt Cathedral. Beneath them lay an ancient and rarely considered threat, a latrine pit. What happened next would become infamous throughout Europe. According to chroniclers, the weight of the assembled men proved too much for the aging wooden floor. With a sudden, thunderous snap, the entire upper level collapsed. Nobles tumbled downward, falling not just one story, but through the lower floor as well, crashing into the monastery's cesspit below. The pit had been used for years. It was filled with liquid waste, human excrement, and the detritus of monastic life. Around 60 men, lords, advisors, retainers, plummeted into the filth. Many were crushed by beams and falling masonry. Others suffocated or drowned in the sludge. Some sources claim the smell alone killed those who might have survived the fall. King Henry VI, just 17 years old, was one of the few to survive. As the floor gave way beneath him, he managed to cling to a stone window frame. Archbishop Conrad, the very man at the center of the land dispute, also escaped by grabbing onto an iron grating. Landgrave Louis, ironically one of the disputants, survived but was reportedly injured. The rest were not so fortunate. This wasn't the first collapse in medieval history, but it was perhaps the most humiliating. Dying in a battlefield was noble. Dying in a latrine was obscene. According to one account, a lord who had previously joked he'd rather drown in a privy met that exact fate. Whether truth or legend, the story stuck. The death toll remains debated. Some medieval accounts estimate as many as 100 died. Modern scholars tend to agree on about 60 noble casualties. It wasn't only the bodies that sank into the pit. So too did key figures from noble houses like Schwarzburg and Ziegenhain. The resulting inheritance disputes would shift power balances across the region. And yet, the Hoftag's original dispute between the archbishop and the landgrave remained unresolved. Henry VI resumed his duties shortly after, continuing his campaign without addressing the chaotic bloodbath. No reparations, no tribunals, no architectural inquest. Just silence. In the centuries since, the Erfurt Latrine Disaster has been studied as a case of mass mortality, structural failure, and political consequence. While sanitation was poor across medieval Europe, the idea of a noble assembly being swallowed by its own infrastructure struck a particularly chilling and ironic chord. The disaster underscored the limits of medieval engineering and the fragility of feudal privilege. Historical records disagree on the exact location of the collapse. Some claim it occurred in the provost lodge. Others insist it was the bishop's residence or the main hall of the monastery. No physical trace remains today, but written records from Latin and German chronicles capture the shock with vivid detail. The psychological impact also lingered. For medieval elites, whose power often came with divine justification, the symbolism was difficult to ignore. An assembly of nobles attempting to resolve a conflict through royal order had instead perished in human waste. If it was justice, it came from below, not above. Similar tragedies have occurred across history. In 1281, London Bridge partially collapsed under a crowd. In 1908, a bullring in Badajoz caved in during a festival. But the Erfurt event stands alone for its combination of scale, symbolism, and sheer filth. Today, the Erfurt Latrine Disaster is rarely mentioned in textbooks, but in its own time, it was a sobering reminder that no hall is sacred, no rank invincible, and no floor truly solid. All it took was a moment, a crack, a fall, and silence. If you liked what you watched, please like and subscribe. We post interesting and crazy stories from throughout history every Wednesday and Saturday. Yesterday's craziness, because yesterday was crazy too.